Chapter 1, The Hook and Setup, midnight to 1:30, his last tool is still on the workbench. Not in a museum. Not behind glass. Just sitting there, exactly where he left it, 30 years ago. In 1994, somewhere deep in Japan's forgotten industrial heartland, a factory fell silent. The machines stopped. The workers went home. But one man clocked out last. And when he did, he left something behind that nobody came back to collect. In this video, we're going inside that place. We'll trace why Japan's post-bubble collapse created a wave of overnight abandonments, places frozen mid-breath. We'll walk through the factory floor, room by room. And at the very end, I'll show you the one detail in that building that still doesn't make sense to anyone who's found it. Stay with me. Because this story starts not in 1994, but 30 years before that. And to understand why this building died, you first need to understand why it was ever alive. Chapter 2, The Bubble and the Boom, 1:30 to 3:30, Japan in the 1960s and 70s was something the world had never quite seen before. An economy accelerating so fast that foreign economists literally coined a term for it, the Japanese economic miracle. Factories like this one were the heartbeat of that miracle. Steel, textiles, machinery, produced at a pace that made Japan the second largest economy on earth. Workers came from the countryside. Towns built themselves around factories. And for a generation, the deal was simple: show up, work hard, the company takes care of you for life. But here's the thing about bubbles. They don't slowly deflate. They pop. In 1991, the Japanese asset bubble, one of the largest financial events in modern history, began to collapse. Land values fell. Stock markets cratered. Companies that had seemed permanent, invincible, found themselves suddenly, impossibly underwater. And the choices they made in those years created something that urban explorers in Japan call haikyo. Abandoned places. Ghost buildings. Some were closed gradually. Stripped of equipment, properly decommissioned. But others were closed overnight. Owners who couldn't afford even the cost of cleanup just walked away. Left the lights on, metaphorically. Left everything inside. And this factory, the one we're walking through today, is one of the most complete examples of that overnight closure ever documented. But what they found here, and what's still here, is even stranger than a frozen moment in time. I'll get to that. First, let's go inside. Chapter 3, Walking the Floor, 3:30 to 5:30, step through that door and the first thing you notice is the smell. Old oil. Rust. Something organic that you can't quite name. The floor is cracked in long diagonal lines, the kind that take decades to form. Water has been coming in from the roof for years, pooling in the low spots. But the machines are still there. Not all of them. Some were removed before the closure, sold off piece by piece as the end approached. But the large ones, the ones too expensive or too difficult to move, they stayed. And here's where it gets interesting. On that lathe, and on several other machines across the floor, there's still work in progress. Material loaded. Settings locked in. Whoever shut this place down didn't finish their shift. Up ahead, there's a staircase leading to the mezzanine level, where the foreman would stand and look down over the whole floor. And up there, that's where the story gets personal. If this is the kind of story you want more of, the kind that walks you through forgotten places and tries to understand the people who left them, consider subscribing. There's a lot more of Japan's hidden history to explore. Now. The Foreman Station. Chapter 4, The Foreman Station, 5:30 to 7:30, the foreman's office is tiny. Maybe 3 meters by 4. A glass partition that's half cracked. A desk. A chair. A filing cabinet with one drawer permanently open. And on the desk, spread across papers browning at the edges, is a production log. Handwritten. Japanese characters in neat rows, tallying daily output numbers. The last entry is dated And the date it ends, mid-calendar year, 1994, corresponds almost exactly to the wave of mass factory closures that rippled through Japan's Rust Belt that summer. The handwriting is clean. Disciplined. This was not a man who rushed his entries. He took care. And then one day, the page just stops. No final note. No explanation. Just the last number in the column, and then white space. Down on the floor below, in the far corner of the factory, past the silent machines and the cracked skylights, there's something that explorers who found this place always mention first when they talk about it. A single workbench. And on it, tools. Laid out in order. Not scattered, not knocked over. Arranged. Like someone was about to come back and start where they left off. And the strangest part, the part one promised you at the beginning of this video? The tools are arranged smallest to largest. Left to right. A habit. A ritual. Something you only do if you believe you're coming back. He didn't know he was leaving forever. Chapter 5, The Human Cost, Japan's Lost Decade, 7:30 to 9:30, this is where the story stops being just about a building. Because that last worker, whoever he was, walked out of here and into one of the most brutal economic periods modern Japan has ever experienced. The 1990s in Japan are called the Lost Decade. And the name is accurate. Growth stagnated. Unemployment, which for Japan's workforce culture carried enormous social shame, rose sharply. Men who had given their working lives to companies, who had built their identity around loyalty to an employer, found that loyalty wasn't returned. In factories across Japan's industrial regions, in Kansai, in Kitakyushu, along the old steel corridors of Honshu, the story repeated itself. Close the gates. Don't look back. The buildings that remained became time capsules. Not deliberately. Not as museums. Just because it cost money to demolish them, and that money didn't exist. And so they sat. Year after year. Roof panels failing. Nature moving in through every crack. The machines inside oxidizing slowly in the humid Japanese summers and cold winters. Rust spreading across steel the way age spreads across everything, patient and certain. This is what haikyo really is. Not just pretty decay for photographs. It's the physical residue of decisions. Of economies. Of individual human lives caught in forces larger than themselves. Every rusted machine was someone's livelihood. Every locker had a name on it. Every mug in that break room belonged to someone who drank from it every morning for 20 years. And then one day, it was over. And they left their mug behind. Chapter 6, What Remains, and What It Means, 9:30 to 11 o'clock, places like this one are disappearing. Slowly, but irreversibly. Japan has one of the world's highest rates of building demolition. And as the economy has shifted, as land values have changed in regional areas, some of these old industrial sites are finally being cleared. The tools on that workbench, they won't be there forever. The logbook in the foreman's office will eventually dissolve into the floor it rests on. But the question that stays with you, the one that this building asks, the one I can't quite let go of, is this: did he know? When he arranged those tools, smallest to largest, and switched off his machine and walked to the staircase, did he know that was the last time? Or did he think he was just going home for the night, same as every other night for 20 years? That's the part that haikyo can't answer. The buildings remember the objects. They can't remember the people. But maybe that's why we keep coming back to these places. Because someone should remember. Even if it's just us, standing in a broken building in the middle of Japan, looking at a wrench that hasn't been touched in 30 years. Chapter 7, Conclusion and next video tease, 11 to 12 o'clock, Japan's Lost Decade. Created hundreds of places like this one. Some are famous in the haikyo community, documented, photographed, mourned. Others have never been filmed. If you've made it to the end of this video, you're exactly the kind of person this channel exists for. Consider subscribing, not for the algorithm, but because there's a lot more of Japan's forgotten history left to walk through together. And next time, we're going somewhere that makes this factory look almost cheerful. A coastal resort town in northern Japan, where an entire hotel complex was sealed shut in 1998 with the rooms still made up. The beds still turned down. The dining room tables still set for a dinner that never came. We'll find out what happened. And why the owner never came back for the painting still hanging above the front desk. I'll see you there.